This is the round ahead. Thanks to Cole, Sarah Olle back in the host chair, and with me, Josh Gabelich and Chad Wingard. Hello to you both.
Hello, Sarah. I have to say the round ahead doesn't look that appetising when you look at the fixture, but I think it will surprise.
I think it'll be fun. So let's have a look at how round 16 is shaping up. It kicks off on Thursday night between Port Adelaide and Carlton. Then it's over to the SCG, a milestone match for Marcus Bontempelli, 250 games. On Saturday, People First Stadium is where the Suns host the D's. Then we're down to Tasmania. Hawthorn fresh off the bye. The Roos fresh off a big win. And it's first against 18th at Marvel Stadium. That's Collingwood and West Coast. On Sunday, just the two games. Can the Crows beat a few hoodoos against Richmond at the MCG? And we finish out west, the Dockers and St Kilda. But let's kick off with Thursday night footy. Thanks to Coles, it's at Adelaide Oval between Port Adelaide and Carlton. And Josh, rightly so, all the pressure has been on Carlton coach Michael Voss this week, but we're going to shift attention to one of his stars, a dual Coleman medalist in Charlie Curnow, because he, like many of his teammates, has been down on form this year. It's not just the goals, but it is the swagger that seems to be missing. So we're wondering where it is with Charlie, if he can recapture it against Port Adelaide. They do have that undersized kind of defence. We can see here when he's up and going, Josh, he is a player to be reckoned with, but when he's not at the moment, there's so much room for improvement.
Yeah, he's lost his aura, Sarah, that's for sure. I think we should have seen this coming, because if you look at what transpired across not just the off-season but the pre-season, you had the ankle surgery in the off-season, you had 2 rounds of knee surgery either side of Christmas. So it really did rob him of a full pre-season. He's not having that impact. He's not moving like he has across the last 3 years. And you look at that period, Chad, he kicked 202 goals across 3 seasons. 2 Coleman medals in that time. He came third last year. He came off a little bit last year off the back of 2 stunning years when it looked like his career was at the crossroads in the middle part of his career with those knee issues. So he's come off a fair bit this year. Can he get going again? It's the big unknown right now.
Yeah, and I want to touch on, yes, his form hasn't been great, either as Carlton, but for me, it feels a little bit of like Vossi as well. I think the pressure from the fans and the media are actually getting to him. That's my take. So you talk about energy, confidence and aura, that really builds and feeds off of the environment that you're in, but also the placebo effect that you have from everyone else around you. So for me, it's a little bit of lack of confidence, but also, I think everything's just feeding into it. I think it's slowly getting to him, in my opinion.
So it's Ken Hinkley up against Michael Voss. These are 2 men, Chad, you know intimately. Ken, a former coach of yours, and Vossi was a senior assistant at Port Adelaide also in that time. It's high stakes, isn't it, for both men? We know Ken's going to be on the way out regardless, but what about Michael Voss? Is the pressure, do you think, getting to him, and is it getting close to that big call, do you think, when it comes to his future at the Blues?
I don't think the pressure's getting to him. I think the pressure's getting to the club in general.
Yeah.
So you think about Graham Wright, who's coming in, who's going to be the CEO. You think he's just waiting. You think the writing's on the wall for Vossi, and I think a lot of the assistant coaches there, they have underperformed with the talent that they've got, and it's been well documented. But I think that it's going to be end of the season. I don't think Vossi will make a change in the immediate future.
Let's head to the SCG. That's where Friday night's action is between the Sydney Swans and Western Bulldogs. It's game 250 for one of the most loved characters in the game, Marcus Bontempelli, the Western Bulldogs skipper. So we thought, guys, let's take a trip down memory lane. Let's get out the archives and go through some of Marcus Bontempelli's top 5 moments. We could be here all day doing a show on that, but let's get to the top 5, and we're kicking things off with the 2016 semi-final. This was against Hawthorn, Josh, where he's just a baby there, 20 years old, the Bont.
Sarah, I dare say a lot of these games are going to feature in this 2016 special month. What a month for that club, ending a 62-year premiership drought, and he was integral to that premiership success. I'm intrigued to see how we order the home and away games, because he's had 46 games where he's polled 3 Brownlow votes. So how do we do it?
Well, it's going to be tricky. I mean, this one.
I wasn't
how
expecting
about
the COVID
this
game to
goal?
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
special.
It's
that
the
is
impossible
special.
angle, Chad. He can even perform with no crowd there. How about that?
Yeah, the crowd erupted. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you can imagine if there was crowd. It was a pretty special finish there.
And this is an iconic match, the 2016 prelim at Giants Stadium, as it was then known, against the Giants. And Marcus Bontempelli to put them in front in the final term. It had to be the Bont, Josh.
Iconic. What a prelim. 2016, what a ride.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's get to a little earlier in his career, around 2014, Chad, his debut season as an 18-year-old. Goal of the year.
And I'm a sucker for a nice finish. How about this? Dodging everyone, you can't tackle me, chuck it on the right, from the tightest of angles, watching it go through, that was kind of like a I've made it moment. This is me, I'm here.
And of course, we end with the 2016 Grand Final, a 62-year drought broken that day, Josh. This was a special moment, not just for Bontempelli, but the Western Bulldogs in general.
He was huge, wasn't he? I mean, I know the focus has been on JJ and Tom Boyd, who laid claims to a Norm Smith medal. Liam Pickham was huge in that month, but Marcus Bontempelli was incredible, and it's almost the crowning achievement on his career to date, Chad, when you consider how little success that club has had.
100%, and he's a warrior. You see Murphy there as well, two icons of the club, and he's just a special player. And you think about what he's achieved, just not at the club, but in, I suppose, his resume compared to everyone in the competition. He's only 29 years old and he's still got a lot of game left.
Let's take a look at that resume now because, Josh, it is compelling. A 3-time AFLPA best captain, a 6-time best and fairest, and a 6-time All-Australian to go with that premiership. How good?
I know every time he wins one of these accolades or has a milestone, we start thinking about where he sits in the greatest Bulldogs of all time. And he's been discussed as the greatest, I reckon, for the past 3, maybe 4 years since he became a 4-time best and fairest winner. He might end up with 7.
You're leading that charge.
He might end up with 7 or 8, Sarah. He's probably not going to win it this year, but he's still got a lot of time to get to Scott West's record of 7.
Let's get on to a swan now. And Brody Grundy, the big ruckman, he's having a sneaky good year is how I'd like to put it. And Josh, I'd like to put it to you that at this point in the season, Grundy is perhaps leading the Swans best and fairest.
Well, that's what people inside Sydney tell me, Sarah. They think he's having, as you said, a sneaky great year. I mean, he's gone under the radar a little bit because we hold him to such a high standard. We hold him to the standard that he set in 2018 and 2019 when he not only was the All-Australian ruckman twice, but he was a 2-time Copeland Trophy winner. And you look at what he's done at Sydney, 40 of 40 games he's played since he made that move. Came 4th in the best and fairest last year behind the big 3 of
How's
Isaac
that goal?
Heaney, Errol Goulden and Chad Warner. I think he's been a great recruit for that club, Chad. I really do, and I think he's having a sneaky, sneaky good year.
Yeah, and what I love about him is he's not just a pure ruckman. Like, he gets on the ground, he gets a lot of clearances.
Yep.
He's very mobile compared to some of these big mammoths that you see in the game at the moment.
All right, as you guys get up to the wall, I've got to say it was a sight for sore eyes to see Errol Goulden back under Dean Cox. His first time this season after that pre-season injury. He's a 2-time All-Australian. He's made that wing position his own. And Josh, that's where you guys are headed, showing some love for the wingman.
We are, Sarah. Chad, the wing is the most unheralded position in footy. It's often overlooked when it comes to All-Australian selection. Every club uses a wingman differently. And I want to start with Errol Goulden. I know he only returned on the weekend, but as Sarah touched on, he's been named in the past 2 All-Australian sides on a wing. And he reminded us at the Adelaide Oval that he's the wing king.
Yeah, and the body of work that he's done over his short career. I mean, he's top 10 in the Brownlow the last 2 seasons, and you just see the aura that he has. We speak about aura before of Charlie Curnow, but the swagger that Sydney have when they've got their players going and up and about. So again, SCG back in Sydney this week, it's going to be a big game.
Now, Harvey Langford is someone we're discussing all year as a rising star contender. Sam Davidson isn't eligible because he's 23, but the future doctor is making the most of his opportunities this year and making a mockery of the fact he was taken at pick 51 last November.
Yeah, and talk about it, obviously he's a doctorate in the making, but he's a superstar in the making. You think about the confidence that he's had in the last few weeks. He had 27 disposals and a goal on the weekend. He's averaging nearly 6 score involvements, and he's growing week to week, which is an impressive, I suppose, player that's, I suppose, catching my eye at the moment on a wing position.
Ollie Dempsey, Chad, is someone who caught the eye last year. He won the Rising Star, of course. This year he's having even more impact on the scoreboard. He's up to 22 goals across the first 15 games of the season. He's got that run and gun game. And right now, of the group we're looking at, it feels like he's the closest to a Blazer this year.
Yeah, I think he's the closest to the Blazer this year, mainly because, like you said, he's having that scoreboard impact in goals, but he's also averaging the most score involvements. And maybe there's a little bit of the way that Geelong play their system, but like I said, he was top 7 in the BNF last year for Geelong, so he's an important player for him.
2 Collingwood players are on this list in the top group of wingmen in 2025, Chad. Big watch on Pat Lipinski because since he came back from concussion, he's moved forward more, but he's been a star this year. Jack Crisp is the highest rated wingman in the game this year. Craig McRae's made some moves over the off-season. Josh Dacos has gone to a half-back flank, Steele Sidebottom's gone inside. And that's why Jack Crisp is the number 1 rated wingman in the game in 2025.
Yeah, and he is. He's averaging nearly 20 disposals a game. And what I think is a little bit of a difference maker for him is that he is a bit more of a contested kind of player. You think about, he's played back, he's played anywhere you really like him, but he's a bit more physical. He can win that contested possession, and that's probably something for me that's a bit of a statement that in his game at the moment compared to the rest of the wingers.
And Sarah, we're going to see 2 of them go head-to-head at the SCG on Friday night.
Licking my lips, looking forward to that one. And Errol Gordon, I've just learnt, is actually training to be a pilot. So that graphic was on the money indeed. Let's head down to UTAS Stadium where Hawthorn will be hosting North Melbourne. Now, the last time these two sides met, I mean, look away, North fans, because it was one-way traffic. Hawthorn won by 124 points. We're hoping and expecting a more competitive showing this time around. Josh, when it comes to Hawthorn and some selection news, where's the skipper, James Sicily, at?
Yeah, big watch on not just James Sicily, but also James Worpel, Sarah. Both missed before the bye. James Sicily missed 2 games before the bye with a hip issue, which was really plaguing him in the months before they pulled him out of the game. They were expecting him to be good to go. Big watch on him tomorrow. Needs to get through training, as does James Worpel. Mitch Lewis will return this weekend, but he'll return with box ill. So the big watch on when he can come back and play for Hawthorn. First game since having that knee reconstruction in July last year. Been a long road back for him. He really does loom as a wild card, heading towards September for a legitimate contender. So big watch on him.
If we look in the rear vision mirror when it comes to North Melbourne, Good Friday was anything but an 82-point horror show loss to Carlton. Since then, however, Chad, things have improved and it's going upwards in a big old way.
Yeah, 100% North Melbourne, and you see the numbers there, tackles, contested possession, clearances, their midfield unit have really lifted. And what I want to speak about North Melbourne is I really think they've been underperforming this year. I think they've got the most growth out of any team in the competition, not just for this year, but for next year. I honestly believe they can make finals next year.
Wow.
That's how I suppose impressed I've been with them, but I think they've been underperforming. I think they've got the best ruckman in the competition. You've got Larky up there who's kicked massive bags of goal. The improvement of Paul Curtis. I think their back line is looking pretty good. I love Paul Curtis.
Who doesn't love Paul Curtis?
And yeah, Josh, you reckon like their midfield unit, obviously with the starts that they've got now, has just really improved over the last few weeks?
Big time. I think the midfield's been the key to the rise across the last 2 months. You touched on Tristan Cherry. I mean, he's clearly in the All-Australian conversation this year, and that ruck spot is so fiercely contested. But I reckon Tom Powell's been one that's really spiked. I know he's a first-round pick, but he's really taken another step this year. I think Luke Parker has been a really savvy get. He's added a real edge and some leadership to that midfield. And then there's Luke Davies-Uniacke. If you look at him across the last 2 months, he's been a key reason why they've had a massive impact in the midfield, Sarah.
And you're forgetting one big player. The subject of your player portrait is Toby Pink. He's garnering somewhat a cult figure status, and his story is one about persistence.
Spot on, Sarah. There is a new cult figure at Arden Street. His name is Toby Pink. And the reason the key defender from Tantanoola has this newfound status is due to the list of scalps he's stacked up in the last 6 weeks. Since being recalled by Alistair Clarkson for the trip to Hobart in round 9, the 26-year-old has held Logan Morris, Oscar Allen and Josh Tracy all goalless, plus done big jobs on Tom Lynch and Brody Mychek. But last Saturday at the MCG was his biggest scalp yet. Not only did he hold Charlie Curnow goalless for only the 4th time in 4 seasons, he held the 2-time Coleman medalist to no marks inside 50. So where has Toby Pink come from? Well, he spent 3 years on the rookie list at Sydney as a key forward deep down the pecking order behind Buddy Franklin before being delisted without playing a single senior game at the end of 2019. He then signed with North Melbourne's VFL program in 2020 before that season was shut down. The pandemic sent him back to Adelaide, where he boarded when he went to Ross Trevor. He joined his old Sandfield club, Glenelg, but things changed in 2023 when he settled down back and became the best key defender in the Sandfield. The Kangaroos started taking notice by mid-season. They needed a solution to the Ben Mackay problem. North Melbourne recruiting boss Will Thursfield was actually part of Toby Pink's management team with Anthony McConville at Max Sports when Pink was still at the Swans and had tracked him. Kangaroos list manager Brady Rawlings flew over in July to meet with the then Chippy, who was desperate to get another chance in the AFL. The problem was they were worried other clubs would take notice of his delisted free agency status, but it turns out North Melbourne was the only club that reached out. In the weeks after Toby Pink helped Glenelg win the flag in 2023, they ended up signing him on a 1-year deal with a trigger for a second. Now, almost 2 years later, the Pink Pony Club is not just adding scalps, but growing a cult following by the week.
And Josh, you know you've kind of made it when people are attributing songs to you, the Pink Toby Club. I'm a fan. Chad, are you in the club?
Always, I'll jump in the club.
Why not? A bandwagon indeed. Let's get to Gold Coast and Melbourne because curiously for the first time this year, Damien Hardwick's side are out of the 8. Chad, the latter though, it's a little misleading and deceptive given that some of the teams above the Suns have played 2 fewer games. You have a solution. It's got an NBA style kind of feel to it.
Yes, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, yes, Gold Coast have played 2 less games, but in the future, if Tasmania are able to come into the competition, there's going to be an outnumber. So every week there's going to be a team that's played less games. We've got buys coming up, and I think the best model is going to adapt from the NBA model, which is win percentage.
Yeah.
So this just goes on how many, obviously, games.
Wait now, Dogs fans.
Yes, yes. So if it was from this, it's more of like a powers ranking. You actually see where your team is at that particular moment. So obviously by the season's end, it will play out. But at the moment, it has Gold Coast at the 7th spot. So it doesn't show exactly our ladder at the moment, but I think we should maybe adopt this.
I like it. It's a good idea. Andrew Dillon, if you are watching, which I know you always are, take that into consideration. Hey, Noah Anderson was elevated, Josh, to the captaincy at the Suns this year. Hasn't he absolutely relished the role? He is fresh off 42 disposals against the Giants. Probably the 3 Brownlow votes as well. I feel like on that Monday night before the grand final, the cameras will be searching for Noah because he's going to figure, isn't he?
I'm with you on this. I think he's having an awesome year that's probably not getting the exact recognition it deserves. He's up to 2nd in the coaches' votes now, just behind Bailey Smith. He's having a phenomenal first season as skipper. He won the best and fairest, of course, in 2023 when he polled 22 Brownlow medal votes. So he does have a history of polling. Last year, Matt Rowell was the one that got the most votes at that club, and we expect him to poll really well again on that famous Monday night. But it's a big watch. I think he's now a legit contender.
What do you like about him, Chad?
I just love that 42 disposals, 2 goals. Like you think about what's the difference between Matt Rowell is his score involvement. So he's a little bit more potency outside of the stoppages. Yes, they're similar in clearances, but 7.3 score involvements a game, 8th in the competition. That sets him apart.
It's not bad at all. Let's head to the MCG, where on Sunday the Crows are trying to break a few hoodoos there against the Tigers. We're calling them the Scare Crows because it's not a pretty record, guys. If we look over here, the Crows have lost 11 of their past 12 games at the MCG, and the Crows haven't beaten Richmond at the G since 2008. I mean, what are we doing
What's
there?
that
Is that stance again,
It is
Chad?
That's the stance.
I think we're being a bit cheeky. I like the graphic, but it is slightly misleading because they got the job done in round 2 convincingly against Essendon. And if you look at 4 of their past 6 visits, they've had losses by under 10 points. So I think they've actually been quite good, but they don't come here often.
No, it's
and if they're going to come here in September, they need to produce a really convincing performance against Richmond.
It's their last game at the G before September, so it's a good chance to tune up. But for the Tigers, though, we've seen 8 debutants this season. 2 that we haven't seen, though, are Taj Houghton and Josh Smiley. Josh, how close are these 2 to coming in? Because they would give a nice bit of youthful injection into the midfield, and it feels like something they're lacking at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I mean, you look at the players they picked last November. They had 7 draft picks, of course, and we've seen a lot of their key position players, haven't we? Tom Sims, Jonty Fall, Harry Armstrong. Luke Trainer's played every game. We haven't seen much when it comes to their midfield. Now, Sam Lawler's been out for the last month. The expectation is he'll be back in a couple of weeks. The one we're excited about is Taj Houghton. Now, he'll probably start as a forward, but long term they think he is a midfielder. He was taken at pick 12 last year, despite missing almost his entire draft year due to a knee reconstruction. He came back on the weekend against Footscray, got through unscathed. I think we'll see him in a matter of weeks in Adam Uze's side. I think they'll be careful with him, but he's had a really slow build coming off that ACL. And then there's Josh Smiley. Picked 7 last year, only played 4 games at VFL level, had so many issues with his hamstrings. They've put him through a reconditioning block across the last 4 to 5 weeks. So he's still a couple of weeks away, but ideally, with 2 months to go, we'll see Taj Houghton and Josh Smiley in the back end of the year.
It's hard to play in the mid when you are young because a lot of players, Chad, don't have that tank. But given the profile of Richmond's midfield at the moment, it is a bit older. Would you like to see some youth injected in?
And as Josh just said, I think they're trying to. They're just been injured or they're just not quite ready.
Yep.
But for me, they're second worst for scores from stoppages, Richmond, and they're second worst for total clearances. Their average age is 29 years old. You think with Prestia just coming back. So for me, that's on the higher end of what I suppose the best midfield units are at the moment. They're around the 23 to 24 mark. And for me, they actually need to get some experience into them, whether it's a quarter here or a quarter there. But on the weekend, like you said, I think that's too old. And we're similar to St Kilda the other week, playing 10 players above 29. When they're not in contention, they need to start to get some games into this youthfulness. And for instance, I think Hopper and Taranto, I don't know if they can coexist in the future for Richmond, because they're going to take up a spot. Similar to how Tom Mitchell and Jager were at Hawthorn. We had to get rid of one of them. Obviously, both of them left, and it opened the door for Will Day, opened the door for Warple, opened the door for John Newcombe. So who's the players that can step up if these players do go away?
Do you have a gut feel who it would be if Taranto or Hopper were to exit that midfield mix?
I'm not sure who it would be, or if they're even considering it. But I think if I was Richmond, I would think about it, especially if you can get something back from it.
All right, there's just the one lone game on Saturday night at Marvel Stadium. It's Collingwood up against the West Coast Eagles. That's first against 18th. This has been building for a while though, and the man to my right has been campaigning for a debut when it comes to Charlie West. We know it's going to happen, Josh, and we saw some really beautiful shots at training earlier this week where it was announced, although he didn't really get what was going on. It says Westy to debut up there and everyone's mobbing him, but he doesn't really know what's happening.
I know. I love this vision from Collingwood. Yesterday, Sarah, locked in. Charlie West finally going to make his debut. He was someone who was going to debut in round 9. He flew across to Perth to face the Dockers and just had a little niggle with his foot, so they opted not to play him. Hasn't been able to find his way in across the last 2 months, but finally gets his chance after kicking 6 in the VFL last weekend, including the winner after the siren. That's where he gets the confirmation from the coach that yes, he is in. He'll face West Coast on Saturday night, and he's not unfamiliar to people in this building because he is the grandson of Wayne Jackson, the famous CEO in this business.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Charlie West, good luck in your debut. Let's conclude with a game out west. It's Fremantle against St Kilda, and the Dockers are enjoying coming off a primetime win against Essendon last Thursday night. This was Caleb Sarong, one of their stars post-match.
We don't often get Thursday night games, and to get a win on a Thursday night and then have a 10-day break, Freo don't often get that. We're usually on the Sunday arvo shift, so it's nice.
And you're back there this weekend, Caleb, my friend, so the joke is on you. But hasn't he been playing terrific footy? We know Josh is coming off dual All-Australian blazers. Do you think a third for Caleb could be in line?
I think so. At this point in time, he's been that good, hasn't he, Chad? He's just an incredible player. Part of this deep quality midfield with Andrew Brayshaw and Luke Jackson, who's now become one of the best ruckmen in the game, if not the best this year. I mean, I can't wait to see what they go with when the Australian selectors sit down for the final time in August, because Luke Jackson's impact during this run where they've won 5 straight games has been profound.
Yeah, he has. And you think about some of the numbers over the last 5 weeks in their winning streak. He's averaging 21 disposals, 6.6 clearances, 31 hitouts and 1.2 goals. So he's impacting the scores as well. So you think about ruckman, they don't get that opportunity. But as a number one ruckman, I love him. That's just my personal opinion. I posed this question to you probably a few weeks ago. What happens with Freo next year? Does Sean Darcy stay? Do they play the 2 ruckmen when they're both fit and ready to go? It's really unsure at the moment how Freo look best, especially to the pointy end of this season.
Let's see how it goes in September.
Yep.
I mean, that's going to be the big watch on whether they keep the pairing, Sarah, because Luke Jackson one out is quite remarkable. He produced the highest rating game ever from a Fremantle player last Thursday night against Essendon. I know it was against a debutant, but it was a stunning performance.
Well, there's your answer, isn't it? Just play him solo. Hey guys, it's Kids Go Free this weekend, so make sure you get down to the footy, enjoy it. That has been the round ahead, thanks to Coles.